The harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore, ask the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. Good morning. Welcome to a short biblical reflection on the Gospel according to Luke chapter 10, verses selected 1 up to 12 and 17 up to 20. It is the reading for the 14th Sunday in the ordinary time. It is about the mission of the 72. Jesus sends 72 of his disciples on the mission. At the beginning of the preceding chapter 9, Jesus sends the 12 apostles on the mission. Today we have the 72 of his disciples. Then at the end of the preceding chapter 9, in fact the reading which we had for the last Sunday, we heard that Jesus started his journey towards Jerusalem, and on the way he was not received by the people of one of Samaritan villages. Today Jesus continues this mission and goes, therefore also the first explanation which gives to the disciples is the harvest is plentiful, but the laborers are few. Therefore ask the Lord of the harvest to send out laborers into his harvest. The harvest, it means the mission of Jesus, this proclamation of the gospel now is increasing because Jesus lives with his disciples the Galilee, now goes through the Samaria, and then later on he will go to Judea. So in that case, even from the point of view of space, the mission is increasing. But the important fact is that this mission, this harvest does not belong to the disciples, it belongs to the Lord. And the Lord gives them important instruction that the one only possible way to increase the laborers to get help on this mission is to ask him, is to rely him, it is to address their prayers to him. I'm sending you out like lambs into the midst of wolves. In these words, Jesus explains to the disciples that the mission will not be easy, similarly to what already happened when the people from one Samaritan village did not receive them. Similar or even more difficult situation they will face on their way. The following words: carry no purse, no bag, no sandals. In these words, Jesus insists that they should rely fully, first on Jesus himself, because the completion of the mission, the success of the mission, relies on God's grace, as it was already said in the case of prayer for the laborers, and then also on the reception of the people, which is now explained in the following verses. And yet the statement, greet no one on the road, even a simple greeting, if it is prolonged, can be like a distraction, can shift the focus from the main purpose of the mission, which is the proclamation of the gospel. Now the reception is explained in two conditional situations described. The first one, beginning in verse 5, whatever house you enter, and the second one in verse 8, whenever you enter a town. On the side of the disciples is expected to share with the people, in the first case, in the statement, peace to this house, and if people receive it, then it rests on them. In the second case, if people receive them in a particular town, they should also perform the mission of Jesus, in the sense, cure the sick who are there and say to them, the kingdom of God has come near to you. And yet the important statement at the end of the first situation described in a house, do not move about from house to house. The insistence is that it is a mission. With the mission also a sacrifice is connected. Therefore they should not look for a better place, for something what would be pleasing to them from any point of view, including economic, better treatment by people. They should just stay the first place in which they will be received and to fulfill fully the mission. Then in particular, lack of reception is explained in the second part of the description of the second situation in verses 11 and 12 by saying that even the dust which clings to their feet, they should get it out from them, but continuing the proclamation and stating the kingdom of God has come near. Then the reading of the gospel omits some verses and just shifts to the concluding description when the disciples return and with enjoyment explain to the Lord that even the demons submitting themselves to them. But Jesus explains them that this authority was given to them by him to treat on snakes and scorpions and over all powers of the enemy, that nothing will hurt them. These words in particular connect to the statement at the beginning that he is sending them like lambs into the midst of wolves. But this statement also we can connect with the proto-gospel, the first gospel, as the statement is called in the book of Genesis chapter 15, in which in this prophecy the woman is seen Mary herself, and the offspring of her is Jesus. I will put enmity between you and the woman, between your offspring and hers. He will strike your head, and you will strike his heel. Those words addressed to Satan. Now, in our gospel, we have the extension that the power which has the offspring of Mary, that he will strike your head. Now, this power, this authority, Jesus is sharing with his disciples already before his suffering, death, and resurrection. Now, on the second screen, we'll see yet the explanation together with the verses which are omitted. The reading in the lectionary omits verses 13 up to 16, in which we read, "Woe to you, Chorazin! Woe to you, Bethsaida! For if the deeds of power done in you had been done in Tyre and Sidon, they would have repented long ago, sitting in sackcloth and ashes. But at the judgment it will be more tolerable for Tyre and Sidon than for you. And you, Capharnaum, you will be exalted to heaven? No, you will be brought down to Hades. Whoever listens to you, listens to me. And whoever rejects you, rejects me. And whoever rejects me, rejects the one who sent me." So in the middle, between the sending of the disciples and their return, this is the particular statement which also connects with the preceding chapters, because as I stated at the beginning, Jesus now moves towards Jerusalem. Now this is the new environment. They are passing through Samaria, so the mission is extending, and the proclamation now is done to Samaritan villages, other villages, a part of Galilee. But here they are stated the places in which Jesus was teaching, performed many miracles, and warning them for really lack of the reception of the message which Jesus himself was delivering. Chorazin, Bethsaida, Capharnaum, they are compared with other sinful cities as they are used in the Bible, Tyre and Sidon, as well also as we hear in verse 12, the one which we have in the reading of the Gospel in the lectionary, that I tell you, on that day it will be more tolerable for Sodom than for that town. The insistence in these words is Jesus sending the disciples on the mission, but the insistence is as in verse 16, whoever listens to you, listens to me. Whoever rejects you, rejects me, and whoever rejects me, rejects the one who sent me. So the disciples, even as we could probably think that they do not hear now the statement being done on the mission, but of course those words are addressed to them and addressed also to us, to whoever proclaims the gospel, that the reception of the gospel is the reception of the one from whom this gospel originates, from Jesus himself, from and God the Father who sent Jesus. And now whoever rejects not only the one who proclaims, but also rejects Jesus. So this is the important central statement between this experience describe in which frame those two which frames those few verses at the center, describes in the mission of the disciples. I would like to wish you a nice day, a nice reflection on this gospel.